Hello and welcome to Learning Without Tears, Ask an OT. My name is Suzanne Asherson and I am an occupational therapist. Today we are going to talk about adaptations for WetDryTry for people who hate chalk. Learning Without Tears received the question, I love the idea of WetDryTry, but I hate touching chalk. How can I still do this multisensory activity with my students despite my dislike of chalk and chalkboards? Well, you have come to the right place because as an occupational therapist, we work on things like tactile defensiveness. That's OT lingo for people who dislike touching certain items, including chalk. As an OT, there are a ton of different adaptations that we can use to help individuals to still engage in this activity. Now, before I go over some of my tips and strategies, let's first talk about what is WetDryTry. WetDryTry is using either a slate like this for capital letters and numbers, or a double-line blackboard like this for lowercase letters and cursive. No matter which slate you're using, you're going to couple it with using a little Barbie sponge like this for wet, a little piece of paper towel like this that the child's going to crumple up for drying, and the child is going to be trying using chalk like this. And it's little, not because we're cheap, it's little to help facilitate and to work on the child's grip. So that is what we use for this activity. Now, why do I love it so much? Well, this activity appeals to children of all different learning styles. Visually, it's easy for the child to see and simple. Auditorily, the child's hearing consistent, child-friendly language to build their letters, as well as some of that auditory feedback of the chalk on the chalkboard. Tactily, the child is touching and manipulating chalk or a wet sponge. And kinesthetically, the child is engaging in large movements that are consistent to help form and sequence their letters and their numbers. Now, with that being said, I do understand that some people just don't like chalk or chalkboards. Let's talk about those people. You may be one of them who may say, I hate chalk. So what can I do if I hate chalk? Well, here's some simple hacks for you. First of all, it's as easy as this. Just wrap your chalk with some blue tape, and then you don't even have to touch the chalk. It stays just like this, and you hold the blue tape. Likewise, you could wrap your chalk with rubber bands, and then you just hold the rubber band. Or my favorite hack is to put a little pencil cap eraser, and what you have to do is make a little slit in the back so it fits nicely, and then you just have to hold that pencil cap eraser and not even touch the chalk. There's also that old-fashioned chalk holder, but that's going to be like that longer plastic device, and it's not going to be little and small to work on grip. Now you may be thinking, I hate the sound of the chalk screeching on the chalkboard. What can you do? Well, take a little cup of water and your chalk and dip your chalk in water. Don't drown it, just dip it. And when you dip it in water and it's a little moist, there's going to be less of that auditory feedback when that chalk hits the slate. Likewise, if you are a person who hates chalk dust, dipping it in water is going to help as well. And you can also purchase dust-free chalk. So now let's talk about some adaptations. If you really dislike the activity of WetDryTry on the slate. The first thing I want to show you is our app by Learning Without Tears.
Tears. Welcome to WetDryTry. Tap the game you'd like to play.
All right, I'm going to tap capital letter.
Pick and practice.
And let's practice this with the capital D.
Let's try the letter D. First, watch me write the letter. D starts in the starting corner. Big line down. Frog jump. Big curve to the bottom. Now, wet the letter with a sponge.
So then, well, all we got to do is use our pointer finger. That's a good tip to use your pointer finger to point at that sponge and trace.
Very good. Oh, yeah. Now dry the letter with the towel.
All right, so then the next step, I would go and I would dry
Excellent.
the letter with the fake paper towel. And finally,
Good. Now try the letter with the chalk.
I get to try it with the chalk. I don't have to touch it, right? I'm just using this chalk on my slate.
Cool beans.
Not the real life chalk.
You got it right.
All right.
Nice job. You've earned a star.
Yay! Now, that app is wonderful. Do you see how there's that child-friendly language? There's positive reinforcement. It doesn't replace the actual use of the chalk, but if the child you're working with or you are that defensive to chalk, this is a great activity to supplement. You may still be thinking, I still don't like those sounds, the sound effects. So let me give you a hint. All you have to do is go back over to the main page and then click the settings, click the name, and then here there's a toggle, and I could toggle the sound effects off and save it, and that's going to take that sound effects off of the app, all right? So that's one idea. Another idea is to adapt a whiteboard, okay? So if you really can't stand a slate chalkboard, then take a whiteboard and you can adapt it. And you could use dry erase. I would recommend dry erase crayons. Those are preferable over dry erase markers. Why? Because with dry erase crayons, I could break them till they're little in size. And it also provides the child with more feedback when they're dragging that crayon for force and gradation versus a slippery, slidey dry erase marker. And then to dry the dry erase crayon, you could also use one of our little Barbie sponges, whether it's a dry one or a wet one, okay? If you're having a really hard time getting that crayon off, you can cut a magic eraser to about this size and use a magic eraser for that wet portion. And for the dry portion, you could use your finger. All right. Another idea that I have is if you just don't like the touch of chalk, but you're okay with the chalkboard, there are tons of adaptations available where you could swap out that chalk for chalkboard specific colored pencils, chalkboard specific crayons, which of course are going to be my favorite because we can make them small, or chalkboard markers. Lastly, if this is just the tip of the iceberg and you're realizing that you have tactile defensiveness with a lot of different tactile mediums, well, it's time to call an occupational therapist. And OT can help you with giving you strategies such as deep pressure or firm pressure, some proprioception, some heavy work opportunities, or something like a weighted blanket that you could use either before and or during an activity like wet, dry, try, in which you may not like chalk. So go ahead and give these ideas a try and let us know what you think in the comment section on our social media.